Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman online media network.
We talk about the work we're doing to become enlightened craftsmen. We want to talk about how that plays out in two kind of distinct domains. Those domains are, just like we discussed in the former episode, largely artificial, but they're useful as sort of ways for us to calibrate the things we're driving towards as we grow. And those two perspectives are roughly described as freedom or agency in a psychological context, and fullness or depth of sort of quality of experience. And as we grow in those directions and domains, we expect to get both a more capacity to create change in the world or respond to the world as it is and act appropriately, and for that experience to increase in significance and capacities and all sorts of good stuff that comes with a richer, more powerful experience. When we grow in these ways, when we drive towards agency or we drive towards that quality of experience, what's going to happen is it fuels our ability to grow even faster and stronger and better. So subtle increases in agency open the door to more diverse experiences, which in turn create essentially a more effective scaffold to work against in terms of self-development. The same thing is true in the fullness side of the conversation. As you work towards from a kind of a fairly shallow interpretation of experience or a shallow awareness of what's going on to a deeper awareness of what's going on and a deeper appreciation for the way things work, that will also allow you to essentially grow more strongly and more capably towards a richer and better experience. What's going to happen as these capacities grow in general, in broad sweeping terms, is that you will also increase in scope. Your ability to change and adapt and work will allow you to work in bigger and bigger frames of reference towards a future objective, whatever that might be. So in the beginning, when you have limited agency, the only thing you can really work towards is perhaps some level of self-control. When you have a broader level of agency where you're able to be more actively responsive and capable, you can now start working on your family and your community and your municipalities, what have you, and on, and higher in scope and higher in capacity as well. So these kind of two perspectives or two objectives of our personal development are great ways to evaluate where you might start developing had you been stuck. It's not uncommon to wake up and say, my life's going fine, but I really wish it felt better to, do X, Y, or Z, or that subjective experience was more full or more rich. The thing that's important about understanding both of these things is they're not necessarily, even though you can be framed as opposites, they're not necessarily opposite. And as you increase in your level of kind of craftsman-like enlightenment, for lack of a better way to say it, you will find that they start to overlap, that the freedom and the fullness are essentially both the same textures of the same awareness. As that sort of synthesis starts to occur, you really become a powerful change agent in your world, and you really can start to make a meaningful difference. But for each of these developmentally, and how does that work? What does it mean? What do we do? It's a great thing to do to start thinking about using those as perspectives, right? So sit down and say, hey, listen, I feel more of a victim in my own life than I should. How can I increase my agency, and what does that look like? What is it? Where do I feel stuck and constrained right now? And what can I do to sort of improve that? The same thing's true on the fullness side. My life is not it doesn't have the depth that I'd like, or I'm not having the sort of emotional resonance with the people in my neighborhood or with my community or with my partner. I'm not getting that kind of depth of experience that I'd really like to have. What can I do to improve it? Using these perspectives, you can, again, start to build a better quality of life, increase your scope, and increase your capacity. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that works in future episodes.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.